Let's now talk about education and, of course, countless issues to look at. I don't even want to go into the details because everyone is watching this, particularly students. And I'm not talking about the loans yet. But right here with us is Dr. Olatunji Alaza, who is the Honorable Minister of Education in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for inviting me over to your studio.
Yeah. Compliments of the season to you.
Same to you as well. And Happy New Year in advance to you and the entire country. Nigeria, I wish everyone, all our countrymen and women, a rewarding 2025.
How hot is your seat as Minister of Education?
Obviously, you can imagine. So that's a political question. With a political answer, you can imagine. But Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his benevolence, made the decision to transfer me to the Minister of Education. He must have his own mindset of what he wants to achieve there. And I've been given clear mandates on how the president wants to reform and revitalize our educational system. You know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes so much in human capital development. When we talk about human capital development, you're talking realms of education, health, and social protection. And that's why this president has invested so much of the country resources in these big sectors. And I'm pleading with Nigerians to be a little patient. I know things are being difficult, but the light is at the end of the tunnel, and I can assure Nigerians that the tunnel is not too far. We have a president that has built the base of our country so that we can have a sustainable economy now and decades to come. And when president make policies based on your own children and your grandchildren, you can bet these are good decisions. But if decisions are being made based on present, then you have to be worried. This president believes fervently in Nigeria, in the power of our youth, and the power of this country. And that's what this president has done in the last 18 months to move our country. And everyone will agree our fundamentals are much better. The base of our economy is stronger today. Now we just need time. But when we talk about time, we're not talking about 10 years from now, several months from now, we'll begin to reap the dividend of the hard work, hard decisions that this president has taken that no president in the last 30 years have been able to take.
You know, Your Excellency, the Honorable Minister, I was asking about your seat, not the president's seat, but that's okay. I mean, looking at, the issues that you have to deal with, I mean, I can just imagine how, difficult those decisions even your ministry has to take, would be. But if you had to calibrate or you have to do a graph, what are the issues that you would say stand out the most? We've had the tumultuous takeoff of the student loan scheme, whether or not it has started depends on who is looking in whatever direction. We've had the issues of federal universities not getting electricity and consequently, the difficulties that follow that, and so many other issues like that. The issue of collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Education and state ministries of education and all of those challenges. Which of them stand out the most for you?
We have a lot of challenges, and we have to look at it in a form of microcosm. We can't begin to just strip out isolated problems. We have to tackle it together. You've mentioned several things, but we can't just take one of this problem and tackle one without addressing the entire chain, value chain.
I'm just as you know, it's like it could be a network. You pull one, to an extent, you solve quite a few others. That's why I'm asking which one sticks out.
Everything sticks out. Okay. That's what we will fix a lot of the things you mentioned. Okay. But let me give you some stats here. Today, we are uniquely placed. We have a population of 220 million people, unique demography in the world. Of this 220 million people, 70% of that population is below the ages of 30 years. No one has that. No other country has that in the world. And more importantly, you look at this young population, they're very energetic, hardworking, eager to contribute to the society. But we need to give them the opportunity. We need to give them life skills to work. And that's what we will use education to do. Education is a foundational base of any society. Education builds a value, a freedom, and a future. On one side, let me give you some stats as well. We have 60 million Nigerians between the ages of 5 and 14 years old. Of these 60 million people, 45 million of that population is learning poor. When I say learning poor, that means they can't write or read age-appropriate tests at the age of 10, by the age of 10. We also have one of the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. Depending on the statistic you're looking at, we have about 15 million people. Of those 15 million people, 50% of those people have never enrolled in school. 25% have dropped out, and 25% falls within the Amajiri bucket. Now, this is a huge problem that we're confronted with. And we have to come up with a comprehensive solution to tackle this. I'll come and address some of the specific things you've mentioned. And several of those falls into our 6 priority areas. The Ministry of Education came up with the DOTS program, strategy plan to revamp our education system, which is data and digital. D stands for data and digitalization. O stands for out-of-school children. T stands for teacher re-education and reprofessionalizing a teaching profession. And S stands for skills acquisition. Now we've stripped out 6 high priority areas of this DOT program. Now I'll go over each of these 6 high priorities area that we intend to aggressively pursue from January of 2025 going forward. Number 1, we will focus heavily on TVET, Technical Vocational Education and Training. Today, we have a lot of these young men and women out there. They don't have life skills to function, to help themselves, contribute to the community and the society. So what are we going to do with our TVET? We have a clear 4-point agenda, 4 steps here. Number 1, we will now begin to incentivize young Nigerians, male and female, to go to school, to go get technical and vocational training. Number 2, we would pay those schools, the skill technical training centers, skill technical centers, the vocational enterprise institutions, and the technical colleges that will be training them. We'll pay them substantial amount of money for tuition, for training these students, so that we can even begin to build a new value chain in that area, sector of technical education. Number 3, we would really ensure that these students get the skill sets they need. We're going to follow what I now call revert Pareto rule. What is Pareto rule? Pareto rule is what success. Success is 20% policy, 80% implementation. So what we're doing with this TVET is we would ensure that they get trained very well. 60% of the training, 20% of the training will be didactic, while 80% will be on-the-job training. So at step 3, we will qualify what we call mastercraft persons. That's the skill acquisition center, the artisans, where they will go and learn the trade itself. We're currently pre-qualifying all these areas into large-size industries, medium-size, and the artisans. So when these young Nigerians go, say now they want to learn plumbing, we'll go to an artisan, we'll quality assure and accredit those ones and say, how many of these Nigerians can you take? If it's 10, we'll pay them individually every month.
Okay.
But we'll quality assure and have a robust monitoring and evaluation process in place to ensure that they're giving them the right training. And once they're done with their training, we'll give them entrepreneurial grant to start up. And we've narrowed because it's the kind of skill set we're going to be getting these young Nigerians to training into just about 25. That now includes renewable energy, solar installation and maintenance, CNG retrofitting and conversion, and also mechanized farming.
And a number of others like that. I want to believe that there's a website where people can go get this information.
Of course. We're going to be launching this program in early 2025. And
like
the
in January?
First set of students are between January and February, but we're hoping that the first set of students will start training by April of 2025. Okay. And we'll have 2 enrollment cycles.
Okay.
April and September of 2025.
I know that there are money issues that Ine wants to discuss with you.
Well, before we get to the money issues, okay. I'm happy to hear about the technicals of it, because we know that we can't fit everybody into classrooms. We have people with skills. Even in a country like America or so, you do have people who are celebrities today who do not have to go through the normal school. So the technicalities are there. But my problem with that is this. I have personally gone to some areas they call technical schools. These schools or these areas are supposed to be practical. Now, you say you're going to be working with members of the private sector, yes, who have all of this. And you say you're going to be monitoring. And I'm thinking, how realistic is that? What's your manpower? Who is following up? Do you have a department or something, that's going to be following up? How many states are you doing this? Because before now, we've had skills acquisition and all of that, and it hasn't really been practical.
Let me tell you, this is completely different. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has a clear mandate. He believes in the capacity of young Nigerians and the entire Nigerians. We're doing this differently, granularly. We've taken our time. We've done several things to get to this point. And when we roll it out, you can be rest assured that this will be extremely successful. Read my lips, extremely successful. Now, beyond the major thing you need, funding. The president has given us all the funding.
So you have 3.5 trillion. Is that part of it?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. That's why that's why you see this is the biggest budget for education.
Yeah, you went from 1.5 to 3.5.
Yeah, like three times. This tells you the importance President Bola Ahmed Tinubu places on human capital development. Significant budgetary increase, budgetary allocation to education, health, and a social protection program. You just heard the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs came earlier on, and he read out all the things he wants to do. Now, I don't want to deviate. Let me answer. Let me be laser focused on your question. How this will be different. We've done a labor gap analysis. As we train these people all across each geopolitical zone, Lagos, we know the kind of labor gap that we need in Lagos. We would train people in that area. We'll go to Gombe State. We know the kind of labor gap we need there. So we're using data. This is evidence-based driven intervention, because we don't have a choice there. We have these young men and women out there unemployed with no life skills. This is a huge opportunity to give them life skills. And on top of this, we also have what we're calling the TVET digital specialties. This is another area we've carefully created. UNESCO data today shows that today we have 685,000 vacancies in software development methodologies, almost 300,000 vacancies, 300,000 vacancies in cloud computing, 188,000 vacancies in proactive security, about 180,000 vacancy in AI and machine learning. And we have another 150,000 vacancies in connected technology, as well as about 60,000 vacancies in natural language processing. These are, if you aggregate these numbers together, you have about 1.3 million vacancies today that we can get Nigerians to train them and use and get jobs in this area. So what we're going to do, we'll be training university graduates, enrolling them online, supporting them. The ones that don't have computer, we'll buy computers for them. we will pay for their internet subscription so that they can get these 6 month, 8 months online courses and get international certification like Cisco certification, Microsoft certification, and then they can compete and apply for this job. So I can be sitting in Lagos today or Kaduna tomorrow, apply for this job and service a Singaporean company or a company based in Hong Kong or a company based in India.
These beneficiaries, how do they get started? Do they just go to a website? No. What's the selection process?
We will roll this out carefully. While we're going to be working with NEFund to use their technology platform for this. And what you said about tumultuous rollout of the student loan fund, I don't agree with you, with all due respect, and I'll come back to that. NEFund has built a robust platform today. Let me just quickly address that actually. Has built a robust technology platform today. Our Nigerians, our students are benefiting from this initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Well, this is the first. Let me tell you something. People can, I understand the psyche of our citizens have been battered. Their trust in government, it's at the lowest level. But this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not make this.
For as long as he is in, just a second, Dr. Lassa, for as long as he is in government, he will distrust his residents. I'm coming somewhere. And that's the reason I called it tumultuous, because listen to anyone. In fact, please, if you have any messages to drop for us, please go to
X. I mean, you see a lot of complaints and all of that.
The issues are not just going to go away. Just a second. So let's start from building trust.
Yes.
You talked about students, 70% below age 30. That is the age of distrust. That is the age of people who will not believe you, who will not trust you, even when right there they're standing in your face. So how do you build that trust first of all? Because all of these wonderful things that you've said, anyone listening says, we've heard this before.
Yeah, but this is different. Thank you, Ayo. This is different. Look at, honestly, since the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has gotten to government, look at the trajectory. When he was campaigning, he campaigned and told Nigerians, I'll be honest with you. I won't lie to you. I'll take the difficult decisions. And the president came in, took the difficult decision. I was at the Ministry of Health. Our first budget in 2024, we had the highest budgetary allocation to the health sector in 2024. You've seen a lot of the things that how our healthcare system is improved compared to the quantum of improvement in the last 1 year. Look at the second year, the following year, 2025, President even increased the budget. So he's meeting his words with actions. When I think it's just because of trust, when President came in and said, I'm going to launch this loan program, the NEFund, National Education Loan Fund, people said, oh, it's another lie of the government. But today, let me give you data. 482,000 Nigerians are on the NEFund platform. 386,000 people, students, have benefited from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu loan program today. This is data you can cross-check. And of this government has spent 102 billion naira on this loan program.
I'm sure
30
you have
billion of those for institution payment and 62 billion naira in direct monthly stipend being given to students. If you go and ask them, go try it out, go to NEFund website and apply today, you will get response.
Yeah, I know you have more data.
Minutes.
I know you have more data to give. Just a second. I know you have more data to give to us. I will be asking you, okay, the president takes hard decisions. We'll be asking you the hard questions when it comes to the Ministry of Education, but we'll do that when we return from this break.
Okay, yeah.
Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Dr. Olatunji Alausa is still with us here. He is the Minister of Education. Well, thank you again for being here. You talked about NEFund, the student loan program and all. You know that one of the bodies that's been very vehement in their stance about the student loan program is ASU. And you, of course, are not unaware of their issues with the student loan program that, even countries like the United States of America, they're reviewing their stand because the federal government has had to, stand in the gap in certain areas for some of their people who, took student loans and are unable to pay back. So how first of all, you know about ASU's position. How are you addressing that?
No, I'm not quite, with all due respect to you, ASU might have had that position when student loan, when the Naira Fund program was initiated, but I don't believe that's their position. We're actively talking, engaging. This government is actively engaging ASU. I don't think they have that same position.
Well, now, the last conversation we had with them was less than a month ago. Let me tell you, and that position is still what they hold.
Let me tell you, we have ongoing conversation with ASU.
Okay.
I don't want to mix issues here. Let's look at the merits of this student loan program now and look at the benefit in the university system. Now, let's talk about university source of funding. Now, most of our universities, polytechnics, and other higher institutions have relied heavily on government funding. But nowhere in the world that you get 100% government funding, even at the state-owned, government-owned universities, higher institutions. There are other arrays of areas of where they can get funding. And those are the areas where it's deployed to the universities now. You look at other sorts of funding from research, the president has given us go ahead to discuss. I'm working with the special advisor to the president, Ms. Adiza Bala Usman, on the special advisor on policy and coordination with the president on developing the framework for National Development Research Fund that will fund our universities and higher institutions where they can get research grant. Now, if you heard in the news, TED Fund, we've cancelled foreign training by TED Fund. I'll tell you, in the last 4 or 5 years, in the last 6 years, TED Fund has spent 269 billion naira sending Nigerians out to go and train in Malaysia, in India, anywhere, or in other parts of the country. For every amount spent to train one person, we could have trained 15 people here in Nigeria. We've cancelled that henceforth with immediate effect. So we're going to unleash that money, that capacity in a local tertiary institution. Now, as we're training these people outside, abroad, 70% of them were not coming back. They were staying there. So it was just waste of resources. So I've told you other sources of funding to universities, beyond government funding, research fund, capacity funding, more fund from TED Fund that will go to capacity, building capacity in our universities, polytechnics, College of Education. But I'm also working with TED Fund to ensure that our university and polytechnic consult services are rebuilt. From 2025, the consultancy work being done by TED Fund, 50% of those work will go to our tertiary institution, 50% will go to non-tertiary institution consultants. That's building capacity, getting more money into our universities. Now, let me talk to you about the loan program. The institutions are being paid. The Naira Fund is paying tuition on behalf of the students. $30 billion went to our universities, higher institutions, universities and polytechnics just this 2024. We budgeted, the president has approved another budget of 300 billion naira for TED Fund, for Naira Fund, the student loan program in this 2025. So figure out this amount of money year over year. A substantial chunk of that money will go to our tertiary institutions. This is new fund source, so new funding source to our tertiary institutions.
That's for the tertiary institutions.
When we now talk about the students, let me free. You say it's loan, but right now nobody's hounding the students to come and pay. Let them get education. We're creating more opportunities in the country. They will get employed. They'll be gainfully employed. They can pay some of this loan back, but nobody's hounding them now. And also,
doesn't that pose a risk to the sustainability of the policy?
No, there's no. See, right now we have to provide all the seed funding, and as this student, we're targeting students going into the universities now, going to university and polytechnics, and then as they graduate, our economy would have a more robust economy. Would have built more infrastructures, more opportunity. They'll get jobs and pay. They'll pay. Go to other developed countries. People pay their loans.
The fear, that's one of the fears. My apologies, Dr. Lausa. That's one of the fears that ASU is expressing. Just a second. ASU is saying, imagine, okay, let me quote, the president of ASU says, imagine a student graduating from the university with a loan of 5 million naira. Even me as a professor, I cannot pay back such a loan in 20 years. And he is saying that what's the assurance that that fellow is going to get a job in 10, 20 years? And we know that that's a reality.
Good. That you just pivot me to a second high priority area of our 6-point agenda. I didn't have time to tell you the 6-point, but I know the time is short, but let me tell you the critical part. Our second priority area is STEM. We're focusing, we're redirecting our education system towards where the country needs it the most. STEM with 2 M, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medical sciences. With all due respect, we don't need that many people going to study liberal arts now. So, and that's why we want people today. If you study nursing, pharmacy, medicine, solar, being a renewable engineer, renewable energy, being a renewable specialist, digital specialty, you will get a job. So we should not be funding. This is my position, and I know some people might not like it, but let's look at what the country needs today. We should not be funding people to take courses that they know clearly that we don't have need for those courses in the country. And going into 2025, NER Fund will start beginning to narrow down, take out some of these courses and not fund them and not loan them. We will loan areas of studies, areas of skill acquisition, areas of study where we know there'll be job. Today, if you go to nursing school, you get job right here in Nigeria. And even if you don't get a good job here in Nigeria, you can go abroad, get a job. There's huge need. And lending money back to the country. That's another source of foreign direct investment. So we have the population. We're leveraging on this population to create critical mass of where we need it the most.
Right,
not just going to university or going to polytechnic because you want to go to university. And let me tell you something. We have Federal University of Technology. They're set up to provide you a set, narrow-focused training. You have them doing insurance, banking, Federal University of Agric, doing human resource management. That's not the reason why they're set up. And if you give me time, let me even talk about what we want to do with our Faculty of Agriculture. We call it a University of Agriculture. Do you have a minute to talk about that, or should I just pause?
I'm interested in agriculture, but it has a different question.
Okay, good.
Yes, Honorable, I just wanted to ask, we have all of this. The issue of sustainability obviously is a major one. The unions are there. Can we get an assurance there will be no strike in 2025?
I'll tell you, we will do everything to work with all the labor union, ASU, NASU, SANU, everybody with every single labor union in the educational sector to engage them. I will meet them anytime they call me. 2 a.m., I'll answer their call. I'll meet with them at the shortest notice. And once we do that, we should have a situation where there won't be any strike. And in fairness, let's talk about ASU. In fairness, they're good people. It's the problem, not this government. Previous government, years over years, have sat with them, reached agreement with them, and they never made those agreements. But as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said, we shouldn't pity him. He asked for this job. He has inherited all the assets, as well as the liabilities. So all these previous agreements, we're working with ASU now, we're working with SANU, NASU, to hash out each and every one of them, and we would meet those obligations within what is acceptable in a respectful and mutually agreeable way. This afternoon, I was just talking with the Accountant General on what we can quickly do. So we are working. We're working in the part that there should not be any strike. So we all believe in the future of our children. Okay. We want to keep our children in school.
So those agreements, they run into billions of naira. How soon do you think ASU can get some respite?
Don't worry, I will not come on TV and discuss
okay,
that.
I was expecting that would happen.
Yes,
well, let's talk about that, the relevance of our curriculum, or should I say curricula, at various levels, and their relevance. A minister, I think it was the Minister of Education at the time, had said on TV, on one of our programs, that our graduates are unemployable. And when you look at the national education policy, questions arise as to whether or not some of those programs are still relevant. So those courses of study are still relevant. There are those who would look at you, even some watching us right now, they'll say that there are universities that they teach computer engineering and they don't even know what a computer looks like. So, and then who will come to agriculture, because agriculture is another one. We've interviewed an agricultural expert who is an academic and who says many people that they teach agric science in schools don't even have an idea of what anything is like. They don't want to go into agriculture at the time. So in terms of our curriculum, the review for relevance for this modern age, what's your program?
Okay, without a curriculum, let me go to basic education. A curriculum is good. National Education Research Development Council have just reviewed that curriculum for the basic education level. And one important thing that had been missing in the past was Nigerian history. We have now people who are 30 years old, totally disconnected from our history. It doesn't happen in any other part of the world. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has mandated that we put that Nigerian history back in the curriculum. Is back. From 2025, our students in primary school, GSS and secondary school would have that as part of the course of study in schools. Now the university, you're very correct. A lot of our universities are churning out unemployable graduates deliberately in courses that are not relevant today to our country. I'll be meeting with the vice chancellors of all our federal universities, sometimes I think the 12th of January. We'll talk more about this. We need to refocus the kind of education we give our citizens, our young citizens people that go to university. So once we start doing that, if you look at it, there's something that NUC has done. We have 70% standardized curriculum at the NUC level, and the universities have 30% leverage to add to that. But then it's not as if the curriculum itself is bad. It's because today, if anybody that is trained in medicine, that goes to school, anyone that goes to school in Nigeria today in medicine, pharmacy, dentistry, nursing, we are one of the best in the world. These professionals are well sought after anywhere in the world. Go to the US, go to UK, Nigerian doctors, Nigerian trained doctors, physicians, dentists, pharmacists, nurses, engineers are doing so well. It's not those core areas. We're talking about areas that we don't need. And that's why it appears that we're churning out a lot of graduates that are not employable. I agree with you. A lot of our universities need to be funded more, but the federal universities are well funded. Tech Fund has done so well. Go to several of these universities. They have befitting building lab, other infrastructure there, even instructional materials there. So we're not doing that badly, but we need more funding. And that's why we're retooling Tech Fund to provide more of these instructional materials. And if you go to our basic education level, UBEC, we're going to restructure the way things are being done. A lot of things are deliverables from UBEC to state. How the fund will now be switched into what we call P4R, Program for Result, not just a disbursement. We know 360-degree accountability of where those funds are being spent. We have reasonable number of funding going to this level to a various level of education. We just need to now redirect and refocus and develop more KPIs, make everybody more accountable in what they're using these funds for.
Honorable Minister, this year we did have issues around electricity in schools. Of course, with the new hike in the tariff, we had some schools had to be cut off. Is that a solved issue now?
No, it's not a solved issue. This is, we talk about liberalization, market-driven economy. You have the discos, you have the gencos, but then they also have to recoup their money. But what are we doing as a government? We have clear direction on this. We're building, I've been working with the Minister of Power. We're building, we're going to be building mini grids, solar mini grids between 2 megahertz and 8 megahertz at tertiary institution. We have almost 40 lined up to be built. Beyond building them in a tertiary institution, we're also going to address those in teaching hospitals as well. Next, in a few weeks, I'll be meeting with the CEO of the Rural Electrification Agency to map out which universities will benefit, which tertiary institution will benefit from this. Also, within TED fund allocation for 2025, we put buckets of money to build these mini grids in higher institutions. Go to a place like Federal University of Agriculture in Ochopo today. They are completely off national grid. They generate their energy on this solar mini grids. They have 24 hours power supply, day in, day out. So this is what we have to do. We have to now embrace renewable energy in energizing several parts of our society. We have to look, and it's clean energy. We're talking about ozone depletion, climate and education. That's one area. One area we're pursuing with regard to our climate and education. So this 2025, in 2025, we will put several of our higher institutions on these solar mini grids.
Okay. In all of these, we're talking about education. But most of the time, when we talk about these issues, we're looking at the policies, we're looking at the university administrators. Not often do we focus on the students themselves. Their direct, what they feel directly being in school. Students, for instance, will tell us sometimes that they have to pay for some things that they ordinarily probably shouldn't pay for. For instance, we still have situations where lecturers are asking them to produce paper for their research, as opposed to just doing a simple Google form, for their research and all of that. So that's just one example of areas in which the students need some intervention. At least let them know that government is concerned about them and what they feel as students.
And I'll tell you, students, young Nigerians, this government is very concerned about you. You're the future of this country. And more importantly, this president believes wholeheartedly in your innate capabilities. Now, it's what you've just said, the specific problem you've highlighted here, it's culture. We're still using paper in this area of digital age. And that's why this government, Mr. President, has given NIGDA the mandate to improve our digital literacy from 50% to 75% by end of year 2030. And this means we have to train more, about 50 million Nigerians. And we have a clear path. So let me tell you the specific plan we have for the education sector. And lecturers and teachers will be specifically trained. We'll develop a Cisco curriculum for them, that they will get this 6 weeks online training. And as students as well, we're deploying more digital tools in our schools, starting from secondary schools. In fact, we will be deploying online classes for nationwide for our GSS, primary school, GSS students, SS students, to mitigate some of the shortages we have in teachers, in the availability of teachers. And as we do this, we'll give them a tablet to use. So once you build this culture from bottom up, going to now using paper, we should not be using this much volume, this quantum of paper. So it's cultural change. And we as a government, we are proactively pushing for that. And once you have the power of federal government behind that, we would make a lot of changes. And one critical important thing that we're doing is aggressively engaging a subnational government in moving the agenda forward. I'm going to meet with the national governor. I'm going to present to our executive, to our governors at the National Governor Forum. I have another meeting to go meet with them in January to tell them how we're rolling out a TVET strategy. I've met with the Council of Commissioners from all the 36 states and FCT, where we have a new approach to engage as subnational government. And I told the governor that, listen, please, just once you call me, tell me to jump. My next sentence will be, how high do you want me to jump? Okay. We can't do this without them.
Honorable Minister, this is just a thought. Talking about caring for students, because at the end of the day, this whole investment is about them.
Yes.
You said 70% of Nigerians are under 30, so that's quite a market for you. Now, sometimes you will not be able to know what's happening in the universities or in the secondary schools. But the people, the students, they know, they feel it. And unfortunately, sometimes no one hears them, or they feel that no one will hear them and no one will listen to them. Do you think it would be a good idea to come up with some kind of feedback mechanism from the students directly to a place where no administrator in the schools can control?
You're very correct. We're going to do that. As part of this advocacy, we will have voice-over surveyor students. We'll get intermediate surveys to see how they feel. And we're also going to quality assure our processes more. When I say quality assurance, we're going to quality assurance in the level of education we deliver to our students, how our lecturers and teachers are being trained, and we will have more direct feedback mechanism. We're building this huge database. Part of our 6 high priority areas are data and digitalization. We have set up, I'll be inaugurated early in 2025. I'll be inaugurating the National Education Data Implementation Team that will lead us to building this National Education Data Bank. And once we have this all set up, it's just people will go online, send their things, we'll collect this data. We have to. Without data, you can't survive. We now need to move ahead to use data, use technology. So what you've just said, yes, we're working towards, we will do that as well as part of our agenda to revitalize our education system.
Well, too many questions to ask you, but I guess we're going to have to postpone the rest of it.
Unfortunately, we couldn't talk about the University of Abuja issue, but I guess time is against.
Yeah, can we talk about the cultural thing?
Well, unfortunately,
we're out of time.
That's part 2.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Dr. Olatuji Alausa, Honorable Minister of Education, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you. I'm glad for having me. Thank you. It's always a pleasure. Okay. And again, to Nigerians, Happy New Year, and we wishing a very rewarding 2025.
Okay.
Thank you.
We look forward to that.